All right, good to see everybody. It's been a long time. Hope everybody's doing well. Excited to be here today to announce Gary Patterson as our new defensive coordinator. We went through a pretty long, extensive process to get to this hire. I want to thank Jen Cohen and Jay Hillbrands University, all the support that we had to get through the process and be able to make the best hire for USC football, and we feel like we've done that. We had the ability to talk to a lot of different people at a lot of different levels with a lot of different skill sets as we worked our way through, what was going to be the best hire and the best person to come lead our defense in this moment, and taking into account the journey that we've been on up to this point, taking into account the skill sets that are in this building right now, both from a player standpoint and with our assistant coaches. And we felt like we landed on, one of the best guys in the business, and a guy that's obviously done it for a long time at high a level as anyone ever. I first got to know Coach Patterson being in that league, competing against each other for years and years. There was never anybody that was more of a pain to game plan for and try to figure out how to move the ball against than this guy, and the job he did defensively, the job he did in the program at TCU, the sustained success, unprecedented success at that school speaks for itself. And so, and then on a personal level, whether it be conversations before games, all the different league meetings, some yearly events that we attended together. I've had a chance over the years to get to know him, his wife Kelsey. They're phenomenal people, and it was cool to see all this line up because I think, as you'll hear this from him in a second, but I know, he wasn't going to jump back into this for anything. It had to be, the right opportunity, the right kind of place, the right kind of setting, and I know he believes and knows that he's found that, and we certainly feel the same way about him. And so today's about him. I'm not going to answer questions. Just wanted a chance to get to introduce him. You guys will enjoy visiting with him, and proud to have him as a part of our USC football program. So Coach Gary Patterson.
Coach is going to make a quick opening statement, and then if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will run the microphone over to you.
Well, welcome, right? So anyway, I want to thank Coach Riley and Jen Cohen. I spent 3 years out because I had a goal after you got done. You had to be 3 years out to qualify for the College Hall of Fame. We hit all the other check marks, so that was one of the reasons why I've kind of been out of the game, consulted, did things. But, one of the things that I want to get back to, Lincoln and I talked 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, about coming and helping at the time. And I'd had a job since I'd been about 9 years old. And so it's like, it's finally at 60-some years old. Hey, about grandkids, kids, my own kids, all of it, just kind of take a break, kind of just take a step back and see how the world was going and how the game was going and do all that stuff. And so with the College Hall of Fame thing gone, it was kind of funny, the timing of the whole situation. Lincoln texted me and said, if he was interested, and I told him that I'd be interested in talking, just because I saw the job that they were doing here, the kind of recruiting they were doing here, and really, to be honest with you, anytime that I was ever part of a team that had a great offense that scored a lot of points, we won a lot of ball games. And so if you go back to the 2008 through 11, where we were like 47-5 and doing things. So for me, the opportunity to be a part of a great staff, be a part of obviously a legendary program of where they've always had great players, and to hopefully maybe be that last piece to help SC get over the wire to get into the playoffs to win a national championship. We know that we have a very young but very talented team, and so to be honest with you, I landed on Friday. I put my bags down. We started watching film, and since then, it's been starting about 7 in the morning, and we've been going till about 8 o'clock at night. Whether I'm with somebody, my wife's been here looking for a place. I said hello to her. And then she went to sleep. I went back to work writing different things we're working on, and then came back. But it's real exciting. I really like to see the kids out there. We're going to get a lot of older kids back after some surgeries going into the August. So really our goal here is to teach the defense to try to get it to the level the way the offense is played here. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to get it done is that Henny and the group, the defensive group that's here, improved the defense last year. And so how, you know, instead of just coming in and saying, well, this is how we're going to do it, it's been a little bit more work of trying to put both of them together, of understanding that they did a great job, they recruited really good players, watching everything, and then so you got to really kind of listen a little bit more before you say, well, this is how we're going to run zone blitzes, and this is how we're going to run our base fronts and some of that kind of stuff. So, you know, the cool thing for me is that I've been out 3 years. I got a chance to watch more football and evaluate people about how you play defense, how the game's going, how it all goes. My wife watched Netflix. I watch film. I did an Amazon show. You guys might have seen the Amazon Fire college football kickoff. And what I did for us, one of the big reasons I did it was a simple reason that they had to buy me a prescription to Catapult. And so I could watch the coach's version of game. So every Sunday when everybody got done playing, I could wake up and start watching from Indiana to SC to whoever else we were watching play. So for me, it's exciting. I think the kids will show you this morning. I went running across. You know, my wife has said all of her life that really when football started, it was like she was my mistress. You know, she knows I love the game. I have an energy for the game. If I didn't think that we could do it and be where we needed to be, I wouldn't be here. Because, you know, sitting in Coach Riley's seat, you know, it's not about him and I. It's about 30, 40, 50 people in the building that have families that do all of it. And so you want to be able to make sure that you give it the best effort, you do the best thing to try to win the most ball games you can to get done. And so the goal here has always been at SC, because of the kind of players and the history they have, is to win championships. And so for me, I'm not really one that's going to say brash statements. I'm more, because I'm a defensive guy, I'm a kind of play below the water dude. Hold them to one less point. We can do that, get there and keep doing those kind of things. And right now I'm just, you know, I know guys by their numbers, but when they go out there in the running groups, and so today was one of the first times I've got a chance to watch them run around, do things, and do all of it. So really excited about what I've seen so far. So we'll take questions.
What was the process for you from the time Lincoln hit you up via text to?
Well, the process, I mean, Coach Riley already talked about it. I mean, he talked to a lot of different people. Him and I, we had a Zoom call. He answered questions, what we talked about, kind of what the philosophy he was looking for defensively. And we're doing it. And so not necessarily are you going to probably see all Gary Patterson defense, because I'd been at Texas, and they played pretty good defense there, and things that you learned how to do. I was at Baylor, and then just all the other stuff that I've watched. You know, our similar, my similar passion is match quarters is a lot like what they do at Indiana, and rolling to three and getting down to single high stuff. And so, but really that'll come down to what really, once I get out in spring ball, we start seeing what we're good at, what we're not good at, what are we going to need to stop people in this league, and go from there. But really it was one of the conversations, him and I, and then, you know, I had a conversation with Jen, the athletic director. I had a conversation with Chad, the GM. Had a conversation with a couple lawyers. Back to Coach Riley, you know, we can go down the list of different. But it was, I mean, they did a great job. They did a great job of trying to find whether they would have picked me or not. I think it was a great process the way they went about it. I feel better that it wasn't one of those, yeah, this is what we want to do, because knowing that he was talking to a lot of people. So. Yes, thank you.
Obviously, 4 years is a while in terms of football time. As you were not coaching through that stretch, what do you feel like you learned about the game, about your own coaching style going forward, and what was it about this?
Well, number one, when I started at TCU, we didn't have any of this new building that's going up and all the rest of it. If I could step back, and if you ever did it again, I don't want to be the bad cop. I kind of had to we had to play with more with less. And so you had to grow guys up. You had to make them tough if you didn't have the players. It's one of the things that they'll get from me here. All those things that you talk about, that, hey, you have to do it. You got to play hard. You got to do all of it. You know, it was a lot of fun for me the first time really being back in charge and teaching kids this morning. Was really cool for me. You know, and I had over 840 guys come through TCU. And so what you got to understand is, I've been in this business for a long time. I grew up in a little town of 125 people. And so if you know much about small town people, you know they're about people. They like to say hello. They like to go about it. And so to get a chance to be back around young coaches, around young players, help them with their lives, help them move forward. And, you know, coaches in the profession getting back in it, then I have coaches that have been loyal to me that have an opportunity to be able to help them also. So it's a great opportunity for me. You know, again, my point is just try to make us at USC better. So it's go from there.
Ben Walsh, California Post. How deep of a dive have you done on the personnel, and what have you seen there as far as what you have to work with?
Well, I've been here going on 4.5 days, so it's I know where the USC hotel is, and I know I can't get lost walking across campus, but I'm, you know how smart I am, but I have a great memory. So I would tell you that I'm getting to where this morning when I got a chance to start watching them walk around, take notes, do the things like that, and then watching on film. And, you know, the other part is you got to understand, a lot of times when coaches come in to a situation, they bring everybody's on the same page, where you're coming into a situation where a lot of the staff's already here. And so you got to make sure that you kind of got to take a couple steps back. You got to get to know them. I mean, you can't have chemistry in a room. One of the things I learned as a head coach being in charge of a lot, you can't be winning if you don't have chemistry in the room as a defensive staff or an offensive staff or a whole staff. And by the way, they have an unbelievable chemistry in this building of how they treat people and how they do things. I mean, it's just amazing. I've been treated unbelievable in the short time we've been here. But, you know, that's really, right now, it's kind of trying not to jump 3 squares ahead, trying to make sure we do all the check marks. That means I'm staying up later, I'm getting up earlier, and doing all that. To be honest with you, though, that's the fun part about it. These kids don't understand, and all you guys know, it's still the journey. When you know that you start with something, and I'm not even sure when we start on defense what we start at the beginning of spring will be when we get to the end of spring. For the simple reason, you know, I've only known the kids maybe for 3 days, been around them maybe 2 or 3 days. The coaches find out what we can do well, what we can't do well, what we got to improve on. Look at the guys that are not going to be in the spring, that are older, that had, you know, surgeries and different things like that, and see how they're going to fit into things, so that when we get to August, we can put the best team. Because, you know, at the end of the deal, any league I was in, you always try to be so like in the Big 12, you tried to do everything. You changed your game plan to how do you beat Oklahoma and Texas. The coach was there. You know, when we were in the Mountain West Conference, it was BYU and Utah. When you were in the Southeast, when we were in Conference USA, it was Southern Miss and it was Louisville. And so what you do is it takes you X amount of time, but there's no patience here. Our job is to come in, and coach has been here for a little bit. It's come in, and we need to make a difference. He had an unbelievable recruiting class. They're unbelievably talented, but they're, you know, as all freshmen, it's a day by day. Every day you're going to try to make them a little bit better, a little bit more educated about what we're trying to accomplish here. How do we play defense? How we do life? I mean, you're taking a kid out of high school. A couple of kids probably could still be in high school. I mean, but they graduated early, and so they're here. And, you know, you got to be able to really kind of dive into what they're like, so that you can get them where they trust you, that you can coach them hard and do the things you need to do. I think that's what people don't understand. You know, for 25 some years, if you pick up a picture, you see somebody, Gary Patterson, yelling at them. And to be honest with you, you can't stay somewhere 25 years and always be a bad guy. So you don't have to worry about that. So for me, as I told Coach, I'm going to be a lot about chemistry in the building. You got to do it. You got young coaches on the staff also that are very talented, how do I help them progress their careers and do all the things you need to do, plus play good defense and work on getting to where we can play great defense. And so one step at a time. Right now, if you're not careful, sometimes people try to jump from A to Z, and then you don't have a great process. So I'm feeling everything out just like everybody else does, but at a very fast pace. Not necessarily asking everybody else to work at my pace in our office, because they've got recruiting still, they've got all the other stuff, and so we do things right now that we can all do together, and then I do all the other stuff that I worksheets and everything else at night when I'm not using up their time. So, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Hey, Gary, Connor, 24/7 Sports. Nice to meet you. You've hit on it a little bit, but what are some of the challenges that come with inheriting some assistant coaches? What are some of the benefits?
I don't know if there's any challenges. It's obviously, again, those coaches have done a good job recruiting, and like I said, they really improved the defense a year ago. So for me, it's how do we add on to that? It's not like you're coming. I mean, they were 9-3 in the regular season, but knowing also that we're also going to play, instead of two teams that had a chance to play in the playoffs, we're probably going to play 5 teams that are going to have a chance to play in the playoffs. So the level of intensity, the things we got to get done, but everybody knows that. So.
Welcome, Coach. Darren Haynes from CBS LA. You have some history with time being in California. I'm just wondering, just like reflecting, like I know it's way back, but just
Oh, yeah.
kind of in your days of starting off and then coming here, knowing what USC was even back then, to now be in this seat today, coming back to SoCal.
Well, yeah, so I spent time at UC Davis, Cal Lutheran, Sonoma State. They had Larry Allen. We recruited him. There's just a lot of good athletes in the state. And to be able to corral them, get them ready to go, do the things we knew, I think is a big thing. But, it was my 20s when I was here. And so I have a lot of coaches, a lot of former players that are all here that have reached out, that live down here, that work and do. And so, that's a fun thing. Really, to be honest with you, whether it's getting back and being here, just getting back in the game has been a really cool thing, because there's a lot of people that know me, and they say, the biggest thing they said was, you getting back to the game is going to make the game better, which is an ultimate compliment to me. And so, I've always been one that wanted to make sure we did the right things as a whole entire body of college football. That's why I was on a lot of committees, and I was the president of the AFCA for a year, and so trying just to make a difference. I believe it's changed kids' lives, and that's the thing, that a lot of these kids, whether it was Sonoma State, UC Davis, or the Naval Academy on the other coast, you just have kids that they're now grown. I say kids, because of 25 years ago, they're now in their 40s. If you ever told me that, when somebody said, well, you're at TCU for 25 years, I said, yeah, I went at 37 and I ended at 62. And let me tell you, that's a little bit of a stint. So, but it is what it is.
Coach Helio with USC Athletics, you're known for being a great evaluator. So in that sense, I'm wondering if you could give us more detail about what a film study session looks like with you, especially coming in to USC like this. Do you look at game tape? Is practice tape more valuable? What does that look like?
Well, number one, recruiting, we got a guy back in the back of the room, Chad, that does, him and Coach do a lot of that stuff. So, one of the good parts about being a coordinator, anything I really don't want to answer, I'm just going to say that's Coach Corrali's question, just so you guys know. I've been waiting 20-some years to be able to say that. Not just necessarily for him, but for anybody, right? But, it's too short yet. You got to be careful with kids that you're around, and you got to see them play, be around, do things. And, I'm a big eye and personality guy. And that was one of the things that was very impressive with a lot of our kids today that I watched, is there's a lot of kids that want to win. They're young enough that maybe they don't know quite yet how to do that. That's our job. And so, every day of bringing them all together, putting them in a situation where we can be successful is going to be important. And, with Coach's leadership of understanding that it's going to take both sides of the football plus special teams. Got Coach Eck that came in from Nebraska, that took a Nebraska group from the 120s to where they were in the top 10 in the country in special teams. I think it was a great move on Coach's part. He's also going to be one of my linebacker coaches, and I won't have to be in charge of enthusiasm. To be honest with you, he's definitely the Energizer Bunny. I'm going to tell you right now, he can go. So we don't need to give him any Red Bull or anything else to get him started and going doing the things he needs to do. So, yes, sir.
Greg Beecham with the Associated Press. I was going to ask you what the transition will be like being an assistant coach, but you just covered that pretty well.
Yeah, I love it. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm just wondering your history with Lincoln. Lincoln mentioned how hard you were to prepare for him as a defensive coach. What's your history with him as an offensive coach and his growth as a coach? You're somewhat parallel career.
Well, number one, I didn't beat him. We had some close ball games. I went for 2 on one trying to. I mean, we had some, but the one thing that's going to be fun for me is when, for a guy that likes to use your imagination, how you got to change things even during practice, is to play against somebody. Because one of the things I'm definitely positive, when you work against something great every day, that allows you to get better. And it may not look as good as you want to, because we're going to be a little bit, and I'm not making an excuse. Hopefully we're not behind, but by the time we get to, but we haven't been together as long defensively, right? But I think one of the things that we'll be able to do by, getting about halfway through it, we'll see what they're doing, how they're attacking. Kids are going to learn that we're going to tweak things as we go, which is what we're going to have to do during the season also. I've never had this big a front. I've had good players at TCU, but probably not as many when you said to get together, except a few years that we had. But very big up front, and when you don't have to use your secondary as much to force and do some things, it really allows you not to get the ball thrown over your head or any of the rest of the stuff. Because at TCU we had to be very aggressive, and so proud of all those kids. It was fun being there for what it was, but it's like anything else. A lot of those guys have reached out saying, "Going to come watch. Happy for you. Go about your business." So I think that's the fun part about it. They just know I like doing this. It's some people it's a job. To me, it's a way of life. And that's what my wife. We've been married over 20-some years, and that's what she said. You got to get back. You got to get back into what your passion is, because she said she married me for better, for worse, but not for lunch. I had to be gone 46 hours a day. So as Coach Riley could tell you, I was a terrible golfer because I played about 5 times a year. And now I've got to be where I'm a lot better golfer. And so now I'll go back to being a bad golfer. But it's okay. I'm going to be happy about that, to be honest with you. So, yes.
Hi, Haley Sawyer, OC Register. I've heard that depending on the situation or day, you might be Gary or you might be Coach P.
Yes, correct.
I know that.
Would my wife tell you that?
No. I know music's a big part of your life. How does that sort of kind of help you strike a balance between those two sides of yourself?
Well, let me just say this. Even if I had a window, I don't have a window anymore. And now that I'm back to being hoarse, I have less of a window. But, I started young. In Kansas, they have wedding dances. So you have a wedding, you have a reception. At night, you have a 4-hour dance. So we play. I could make $100, $150 back in the 80s to do those kind of things. It was cool. So for me, I got into music. Was kind of my release. You can argue when people want to discuss, but they can't argue with a song. Like one of them that's at the end on Spotify, it's called "The Day I Walk Away," is when we stepped down from TCU, and it was kind of one of those things where it was started to be written like you broke a breakup, but because 25 years is a long time, but it's love a lot of those people, a lot of people, greatness happens somewhere in time where dreams and hard work meet. And for me, coming from that small town, I knew how to work. I didn't know how to dream, because you didn't think that you ever got out of it. And so for me, I can promise you my parents, they're really sitting in a situation smiling down because you want to do something that made them proud. And so I think it's a positive thing. And whenever you can be around great people, like here, really, and when I say that, it's not a cliche. I mean, really, starting with Jan, we had a call along with Coach Riley, meeting the staff. I mean, you know, when you've been in the business for as long as I've been, you know a lot of people. And so there's a lot of people that have been through here. Today I just got off the phone right before we came over. Jeff McInerney, that was like special teams coordinator here at USC for a while, back with Coach McKay. I mean, you know, when you have players that are almost 50 years old, you've been around a while. So, but you'll promise you when you step on the field, I will promise you I won't look like I'm that old. That's what I was told by a couple of my safeties this morning. It's like, I don't know, Coach. I think you're lying to somebody. So,
Coach,
yeah,
very responsive. We're just going to register welcome to LA.
thanks.
You were sort of mentioned that you're known as a fiery coach on the field. I imagine that won't change. And do you think kids or young players have changed how they take coaching?
You know, I'll be honest with you. Even when I was at Texas and I was at Baylor, I didn't think so. I thought the great ones wanted to be told, the good ones wanted to be coached, and the bad ones, I mean, we got to change them. And so, to be honest with you, it actually helps me with the history because the kids nowadays, with all the media, they can go back and search through everything, and they know that I had Jason Verrett was a corner that played for the Chargers, and he came from Santa Rosa Junior College. He's 155 pounds, and he became a two-time All-American. Or I take a Jerry Hughes and turn him from a running back into a defensive end. The fortunate thing is, at SC, you know, we don't have to do that as much. Okay, and so for me, like I said earlier, the passion for kids. And by the way, so you guys, that's Kelsey back there, my better half, Mrs. P. They like her a lot more than they like me, to be honest with you, some of them. But, you know, through the years, they all grow up. And the cool thing is watching them, not just if they played in the NFL, but they became CEOs of their own companies. And they use, when they put down the things that you said, and that's what they live by when they run their company and do things. That's kind of the thing that gets kind of lost in the whole thing. How did you help people?
What's one of those things?
They got better.
Or like one of those like a phrase that sticks with kids?
You know, well, let's see, that sticks with them that I could say in here. No, I'm just kidding. You know, it's like I just told you, greatness is a place. You know, number one, winning is not a sometimes thing. I don't care if it's football or whatever it is in life. Winning is not a sometimes thing. When you wake up in the morning, especially in the town that I came from, you're going to get up and you better start charging. I think of my 27 kids in my graduating class, I think only 2 of us left. Everybody else farmed and ranched and did all of it. One is a roving mechanic in South Korea, and myself. And so at the end of the day, you know, that's like I said, no, you didn't learn how to dream. And so, but they're all good people. They were all smart. And so, you know, I had 2 uncles. One, Harold Patterson, that played in the Canadian Hall of Fame. He's in the Canadian Hall of Fame, youngest player. He's in the Kansas Hall of Fame. And then a Ray Patterson that actually played with Bill Parcells at Wichita State. So I'm just down the list, to be honest with you. You know, but I know this, but they're again, all of them, I came from a family, my dad of 8, 28 grandkids, so 28 cousins. And so we always had a lot of people around us. So, but that's why I like people, whether it's my own grandkids, my own sons, or all the guys that you coached. You have to have an appreciation for what they did for you because that's why you kept your job. And I think if there's anything I learned out of all of it, is that kind of I can talk to kids a little bit different now than I could 25 years ago, because of as they say nowadays, I have a little bit better riz. So, so yes.
Just how far along are you on familiarizing yourself with the personnel here at USC, and how much more do you have left?
Hopefully, Coach Riley said 2 or 3 years, so we'll just keep doing things, right? No, I mean, you know, it's they have to get to where they trust me. If you watch me on the side, I'm one of these guys that I wait till the last second. I'll change coverages by what I see. I had that microphone that we have now. That's why I can never talk after ball games. I may look like I can actually talk to somebody after a game by having the microphone, so I don't have to yell at the mic linebacker or the free safety or the corner to press or whatever I needed him to do. So, but it's very, very been a short time. Right now, it's between everything we've been doing, it's really been about taking it one step at a time. Make sure we have a good foundation of defense to put in, and then also get to know the kids, get to know what they do well, what they don't, and keep working on it. From watching them lift and run, because you know they're going to get. You know, one thing that happens nowadays, and here we got, I don't know, is it 32 out of 35 are already here, Coach? So you have your whole team. So you get one cycle right now of lifting, and then you start spring ball, and you start on another cycle, and you finish at the end of spring ball, and then you get back in the summertime, and you go, and then you finish another cycle. A kid nowadays, and he goes through spring ball, a kid has 3 cycles of lifting, and he went through 15 practices and all the meetings. They're not a freshman anymore. That's what we got to understand. They're not going to, if we do it right and we teach and we build foundations, they're not a freshman anymore. Even at TC when I was before, we didn't have as many, but the ones that came in were a lot better players that August because they went through all this stuff. And so the key is not making sure that until we get them stronger, that an 18-year-old is playing against a 22-year-old, so you get them on the field, and that's their job. You know, some of them think, when you say weight room, well, they think, well, I got to gain weight. No, that'll come. It's more really about getting stronger, both mentally and physically, so that you can handle a 12-game, 15, 16-game season. And so, I mean, that's our job right now.
Hey, Coach. Adam Iguzaga with Vanguard Media. Broadly, how do you define success for your defense in 2026? And then to follow up more specifically, what is one goal that you have in mind that you've gained recently in your short time now?
Well, I don't know what the goals will be because I haven't been around them enough. The goal is to win, is to be undefeated in the regular season. You know, no matter what we do, if you hold them to one less 12 times, I think everybody's going to be happy. So we're going to start with that right now. I'll know more about them by the time we get to the end of 2-a-days, and then I could probably answer that question better.
Coach, this question comes from Ryan from the LAFB Network. He says, what growth have you seen from head coach Lincoln Riley since you first began coaching against him back in the Big 12?
Well, number one, he started as a coordinator, and then he became the head coach. Number one, you watch how he handles players and staff and everything. I think it's awesome. He does a great job of all that. Like I said, starting this whole conversation, how comfortable I felt being in the office, how well we've been taken care of. You know, it's not an easy thing getting through HR and all the things you need to get done. Plus, you're trying to meet 12 hours a day. And by the way, we want to watch them in the weight room, and we want to watch them run. We want to watch them do that. And by the way, we might get to 6 o'clock and wonder, oh, I forgot to eat. So right now, that's kind of me. And so, in answer to your question, I think the goal will be, again, I think I'll be able to do a better job of that come close to September. So.
Hey, Coach. Adam Black for USA Today Coaching Squire. Obviously, there's been a ton of changes in college football since you were last at TCU 4 years ago. So how well do you kind of plan on adapting? What do you think you're going to be coaching with moving and
You know, my job is to defense, so I don't deal with NIL. I don't deal in all those different things. You know, one of the misconceptions, you know, I raised almost $1 million at TCU before the year that I stepped away. You know, I made a statement about, I said I didn't like it. It's not what I said. I said I didn't think it was going to be good for college football. Okay? And I don't. I think though, because I was on a lot of meetings with the NCAA, and I was the president of the AFCA. But also, we'd been telling the NCAA and everybody else for 15 years that we had to start closing the gap. I was seeing too much dirt through the floor more than I ever had when I went to home visits. And so we are where we're at. And, you know, I'll tell you about coaches. Coaches are just one of those things. You set up the rules, and then we're going to change. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time, and it's not going to be the first coach that said, I mean, we'll never be able to do that, you know? And so, you know, we'll just keep doing it. I think one of the thing's I would tell you is that USC's done a great job of adapting, or they wouldn't have had the #1 recruiting class in the nation. So I'd say they did a great job of doing that. So.
Coach
Yep.
James here again, CBS LA. Take us back behind the closed doors with Coach Riley and whatever that exchange was, phone call, text message, when basically he was kind of recruiting you to be that defensive coordinator. What was that like to finally make you say, you know what, I like this job, I'm coming?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to, I think, again, I'm going to go back to this. When I had good offenses at TCU, we were very good, and we won a lot of games. I always knew, and Coach Riley and I had talked about, again, a couple years ago, about how with what he does on offense, and then we could get it to where what we'd done on defense at our highest level, what that would be like on the same football team. So that's what the story is, and what we're trying to get accomplished. So, and you know, it's been fun. I'm really excited to watch what I'm going to get the first 3 days of practice, because we're talking football today, and he's, you know, I know he may be watching, but really he's game planning. So, hey, all coaches are bad. It's just what we do. So, it is what it is. So.
Gary, I know when you started with the 4-2-5 scheme, that was right as the spread offense was really starting to proliferate around college football. I wonder how you've seen or how you've adapted that scheme over the course of time, and how maybe college football has changed.
Well, number one, let me just say this to you. A lot of people said they could play the 4-2-5 like TCU does, and they don't. But there's some people doing some other things out there. There's people doing some things out there that have changed that we're going to try to add to what we do. You know, without giving any secrets away, of being able to get bigger people on the field, okay, against some of the teams that we've got to play. And so, but using 4-2-5 coverages. You know, as I tell people all the time, the best way to play the run is that somewhere you play man, okay, somewhere you play man so you get one more guy in the box that they can't block. Not blitzing. If you're good enough, you can just line up 7 against 7 and beat them, then my life will be really easy this year, if that's what we can do. If we can't, then we better have a plan against all those people that we got to play, so we can handle all the rest of it. So to be honest with you, it's one of the things that attracted me to the job. I looked at it and saw that we had to play Washington, Oregon, and Ohio State at home, and we had to go to Indiana, and we had to go to Penn State. Now, you're talking about a guy that was out for 3 years. So I've been watching all this football and have an opportunity to say, okay, I can go to a place like, and be a part of a place like USC, and understand when I step on the field that we're going to have as good of players as they do, so we can compete with those guys, and we have a little luck and get physical and do the things we need to do, that you could come out on the top end of that whole situation more than you didn't. So, you know, that's the schedule for me. A lot of people, I'll be honest with you, probably would run from it. I mean, if you're coming in saying, here's what you want to do, but to be honest with you, that's why I wanted to get back into it, is because I want to see. Now, Coach Cignetti, him and I are the same age, just so you know. He's a year younger. So, age-wise, I'm not sure. Now, I'm not going to have the same kind of eye looks that he has on the sidelines. If I do that, then we're going to put sunglasses on. So, but I am proud of the things they've done. One of my graduate assistants, Ryan McInerney, is the special teams coordinator for him. And there's the guy I told you, Jeff McInerney, they just called me earlier, that worked for Coach McKay. But he was a GA, moved through, and those are the kind of things that are cool for me. I mean, watching kids get a chance to play their dream. We only know 1% will probably get that opportunity, but then also helping them and everything else they do in their lives. And so when I say this, okay, so they never get off the payroll, not that we're paying them, okay? I'm saying you're still writing job references You're always trying to help somebody, call somebody so they can get a job, they can do this. It never stops. Just think about having, just at TCU, 840 kids. And so now I'm going to add, well, I don't know what they give you now, 105, 110 dudes here. So, I mean, it never stops, and that's the cool part of the job. That's one thing I think people are forgetting, getting an education, you know, growing kids up so they have values, know how to work hard, do all the things you need to do, and then also know, and one of the reasons I stayed at TCU the long as I did, I saw so many kids that didn't have parents or one parent and they had nobody to turn to, and after moving 10, you know, like 9 or 10 times the first 15 years of getting somewhere where I could stay, people say, why did you stay at TCU? Because those kind of reasons. Because, you know, your kids that you knew you coached forever, we're going to have an opportunity to call back if there was a problem so somebody would help them. That's what I want to be able to bring to USC, to be part of that. Coach Riley already does that. They're going to chat, all the group back there does an unbelievable job. Unbelievable job. Dave's sitting in the back of the room. Unbelievable job of helping kids with day-to-day problems. And, you know, we had a great speaker today, and that's what he talked about. He talked about you don't need to go in the portal. You don't need, hey, what about if we all stay together and what you could get done with all the potential we have here to be what we wanted to be, you know? So.
Thank you so much, Coach. And before we close, it's time for Conquest Command, a question from the front lines of the Trojan Army. Our question is from Ryan Prochaska. You can follow him on X and on Instagram at Ryan Prochaska. Coach Patterson, what would you say has been the biggest area of growth for you as a head coach since your time at TCU, and how do you expect the growth to show up in coaching your defense this upcoming season?
Well, patience. You can tell him patience. I think that's the biggest thing. Again, I go back to the question about if kids changed. I don't think so. Down deep, I think if they know that you care about them, you can work. They always knew, as a coordinator, head coach, that you had their back. And I think that's the one thing that you have to know. If you do that, it doesn't matter. You know, I've had calls from NFL guys and non-NFL guys and people around the country that just players that I coached at the Naval Academy that worked at the Pentagon. I mean, you name it, they've been everywhere. And the key to it is they knew, as I told them though, there was I had one safety at the Naval Academy that I didn't ever raise my voice to because I figured he'd do recon on me and I'd see some red dot on the door when I was walking in the house. So I won't mention his name, so we won't give him away. But, you know, it's a great profession. I think we're losing with, you know, it's interesting that now all we talk about is NIL. All we did talk about was concussions, okay? And all of a sudden, now they have money, and now we don't talk about concussions. We don't hear that anymore. We don't hear about graduation rates and APR, okay? Well, to coaches that really care in the business, all those things are still important. They're still important that we take care of our kids, we get them degrees, we help them start in life. Those are the kind of things that I think that people, when they look at coaches, because the mighty dollar has taken precedent, but behind the scenes, there's just a lot of guys in this business that really care about what happens to kids. That's why we got into it. That's what I got into it for. I promise you it wasn't because I think my first check was $257 a month, and 100 of it went to rent. So we lifted late at night because then we drank water and we were tired, and I didn't worry about eating because we weren't going to make it through the month. So at the end of the day, a lot of us have done a lot of things. There's a lot of stories in coaches and a lot of other professions of people that's what they did it for. So at the end of the day, I mean, you guys do what you do. It's the same. So, you know, you're not giving a whole lot of credit for a lot of that stuff, right? So anyway, I appreciate it. We need to go and get out of this whole thing. Now, see, I'm going to have to make sure that I don't ever bend this. So we keep this up. Now, here's my problem, and this is why I have to get into this whole situation. The SMU ponies do a little bit like this, and so I'm just going to forget that red and blue and just know what our colors are here. So, hey, fight on.